On today's episode of Locked On Avalanche, as the Avs go into the offseason, we all have a wish list that we hope, wish, pray that the Avalanche do during this offseason. So we're going to talk about that on a new episode of Locked On Avalanche.
You're Locked On Avalanche, your daily podcast on the Colorado Avalanche. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, everybody, welcome to the Locked On Avalanche podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm your host, Chris Maselli. With me, as always, Mr. Shaggy Von Doom, Kyle Sullivan. Thank you for tuning in, making it your first listen of the day. Always appreciate it. If you want to get in on the conversation, then join our subtext. Link is in the show notes below. Chat with Kyle and I one-on-one. We get your opinion, everything Avalanche related, and share it on this very podcast. We'll get to our subtext crew as they chime in on Ross Colton and his season grade. And because we had gone on for so long about Mitch Marner, the episode was released. They had things to say about it. So we'll revisit some of their thoughts on the whole Marner thing, because while it's going to go away for the Avalanche stuff, it's just still fascinating to me. This is like, I love regular season hockey. Offseason to me is just as exciting because you get topics like this that just don't die.
Yeah, it's interesting, and it's a good thing for the Avalanche fan base to feel like they're deserving of like top UFAs when they hit the market. Like they're an organization that players would want to come for. So
sure.
it's especially where this organization has been. It's nice to feel like, yeah, they would want to play with the Avalanche.
Good way to look at it. Good way to look at it. But where we're going to start today is where we wanted to end yesterday's episode and just didn't have enough time. Wish lists. Pearl Jam has a song just called Wish List, and it's all things that everybody wants for the Avs and the Avs fan base. Like, I think we all have in our mind what we feel like the Avalanche need to do, should do, want to do to just improve this team as we head into this offseason, head into a new year, new season, I should say, next season. And I brought something up yesterday as we were talking about the Mitch Marner stuff and how, you know, who I kind of have my hopes and sights set on is Nick Schmaltz over at the Utah Mammoth. I still want to say hockey club. I might just say hockey club until I just fix it. It fixes itself in my brain.
Yeah.
But yeah, I like, the more I like sit on that, the more I look at it, like I think that would be a really good fit for the Avs. So while, you know, we'll get to other things that are on my wish list, even though that was a different topic, a different conversation when I brought him up, throw him on mine. Okay. I think Nick Schmaltz coming to the Avs would be a good move for them. And again, it would have to go hand in hand with if the Mammoth brought in someone like Marner that pushes him down, almost makes him expendable to their end, I would say.
And see, and like when you said that, like I fully agree. And I have my own wish list, and I was fully ready to drop it. And I'm glad we had to wait a day, because it's a good, bad, and the ugly wish list for the Avalanche. Like, we got to ask some serious questions about this list and going forward and what we want to do. Like, I like Nick Schmaltz. I would love it if like the deal looked like Sam Girard to Utah, and coming back would be Schmaltz and maybe Kerfoot on the cheap.
For
you could load up.
I mean, you have to give him more than that, probably.
Yeah,
but
you can make something happen, because that Sam Girard, you're going to have to add another piece. It's a beefy contract. But if Utah is getting Marner, like, you would make moves like that.
Yeah, I went to the Locked On Mammoth hosts and asked them if Schmaltz is on the block, and they were like, you know, he could be. He didn't. It wasn't like a definite like yes, wasn't a definite no. They were like, if the right deal came along, sure. And I asked them. I said, "Do you need defense?" And they were like, would never say no. I'm like, and I threw out, I said, how about Sammy G? And they were like, probably the moves that they have made for their defensive end are 6-1 and over. So I was like, okay, so probably no is a no for Sammy G. So you might have to up it to a Manson, or you know what I mean? So who knows? Early stages of all this stuff, but you know,
Well, that's
Go for it.
fine. I hope the Mammoth love Ian Cole. But for the Avalanche going into next year, let's not. I mean, okay, Brock Nelson probably most likely not coming back.
Right.
2C once again open. You don't know about Drouin. You don't know about Kiviranta. You don't know about these additional players. Got it. Wonderful. Understandable. Mikko Rantanen's not coming through the door. You threw out Nick Schmaltz, a player I've been watching out of the corner of my eye, my Columbo eye. It kind of like shifts this way, and I'm watching him over here. A UFA coming up next year. Ryan Donato.
I've heard his name get thrown around a couple times. Okay.
He's played with Chicago last year. He played Boston, Minnesota. It's not appealing, but for those who have not been watching Ryan Donato last year, he had 62 points
Yeah.
year. Only carries about $2 million on his current deal. Probably ask a little bit more because he had, like I said, a career year, like 31 goals, 31 assists. Ryan Donato might be a nice, cheap pickup, and he did this with Chicago.
Yeah.
Like, if you could do that in Chicago, talk to me. That's my good. Like, that's my good part of the wish list.
Where would you play as what position?
I would put him as a center.
On the second line?
Possibly. You're going cheap.
I mean,
you have Landy, you have Val. Like, if you're getting 40 to 60 points from your second line center, I'm okay with that.
Yeah, like it's just a big if, because he was nowhere ever near that before this year. So you're just hoping that what he did last year he can duplicate it on obviously a better team. So you're kind of thinking like, okay, maybe he could.
But he has, I think, 4 other teams that bought into that hope. I mean, again, this is on the cheap. You're wanting to build a team. Like, we're not going out there and spending $10 million on every open hole in the roster. You could share some of that money.
I wouldn't be against it. It would just be one of those unsure. We're gonna see if it works type of thing.
But if it doesn't, you can also adjust much easier than having a huge contract that you have to move around and play around with.
Yeah, and if it's not a bad idea. Like if it doesn't work at that spot, he could fit in other spots on the roster and be okay.
Or you can easily move that contract at the deadline. That could be something you couple with Sam Girard at the deadline.
Okay.
If everything goes south, that's the good. Like there's a lot of things you could do. Depending on how the playoffs go, Jack Roslovic is also a UFA going into next year. Had 39 points, carries 2.8 on his current contract.
Low. Yeah.
That's a bad, but has promise. When you watch him play, I've thought many times, even though he plays for the terrible Carolina Hurricanes, I've always thought, man, he would really excel in a Colorado system. I mean, you get that kind of in Carolina. It's out there. It's a possibility. It's not breaking the bank again.
Yeah.
But
here's my question on him. Does he wear number 96 if he comes over to the Avs?
You know what? I'm glad you brought that up because sure, if you do, why not? Because the ugly, and this is a big question. I've seen it thrown around a couple times. You know who else is a UFA this year, depending on how the playoffs go?
Throw it.
Number 9, Matt Duchene.
Yeah, I mean, God, we could do a whole episode on that.
I know. I'm just throwing it out there. We have a whole offseason in front of us, and I'm putting it out into the ether now. Everyone knows my feelings on Matt Duchene, but I also know what my feelings are on 82 points at $3 million.
Yeah.
And let's be honest, Matt Duchene's grandstanding and all that had a lot to do with the head coach at the time. Patrick Waugh was kind of not the easiest coach to be under, and there was some friction there. It took Matt Duchene a while to find his footing. It wasn't in Ottawa, wasn't in Columbus, wasn't Nashville. But, Dallas is kind of, he's kind of found his way. He does carry $3 million. If you want to be serious about a 2C fix, why not couple him with Landeskog and Val?
I put the whole thing what happened with him in the past. Like I have long since moved on.
He
from
has
that.
matured, and so has the league from that portion.
He definitely has, but I feel like it's still like a thorn in his side how things went down in Colorado, and I think he is happier than can be in Dallas. I just don't see him like because this actually got brought up this past offseason when he was a free. Just signed that 1-year deal with them. And I mean, there was like chirps about it, nothing really like too loud. I'm sure they visited it and considered it. I don't know for how long, but I don't know if he even did. It might have been one way, and I think he kind of has found himself again in Dallas. Not that he was having poor seasons prior to that in Nashville. But I think like he kind of has found his home in Dallas. And what is he now? What is he like 35 now? Is he that?
No.
Is he 30?
I think he's like 32, 33.
34. He's 34 years old.
Well, let me throw it to you this way. Like I said, everybody knows how I feel about it. 82 points. Even if you give me half of that, I'm still feeling okay. Right. The Colorado system. You've played with Nathan MacKinnon. For all of the pomp and circumstance we've given to Jonathan Drouin, both of you, Duchene and MacKinnon, came up in the league at the same time. And Landeskog. Like, you have the familiar factor. Why we go get Matt Nieto every even year. Like, bring in and like Matt Duchene, yes, he's found his game again. But do you think that sits well with him? We talked about Mitch Marner growing up with your favorite team, playing and it goes sour. You brought up Matt Duchene yesterday.
Yeah.
Do you think that sits well with him? How it ended? Do you think if he had the chance to go back and one more time, go play with the Avalanche, different, like you've learned the league, the team has matured, go back and give it one more shot at 3, let's say 4 million, give him 4.5.
Yeah, I wouldn't be against it. And again, it has nothing to do with how things went down. If I'm in the Avalanche front office, I'm trying to put together the best team possible. I mean, maybe have a conversation with him. It's been so long. Is there any grudges still held? You got to have that conversation. He's not going to have the conversation with you if there is still grudges. He's just not even going to entertain that. So I think from the Avalanche standpoint, if they really wanted to offer him something, they would. I'm just not sold that Matt Duchene wants to go back. I'm just not sold on it. And I feel like even if it was Dallas who was like, hey, we're going to move on from you. You're free to go wherever you want. I think Duchene would just go somewhere. I don't think he would want it. I just don't feel like if things were a little bit different, I think he can say that it doesn't. Probably annoys him to this day that he still gets booed every time he touches the puck. People are human. They're human. Like, they're gonna get bothered by that. I'm sorry. You can put on a brave face and say that it doesn't bother you, and maybe it doesn't. It's not like bothering him where he's losing sleep at night. But it must be frustrating for him to still have to deal with that. So the flip side of that coin is like, hey, maybe I go back there and get them back on my side. Not, take the high road on this and, go back there, finish my career there if he does. I mean, he's maybe has 4 or 5 years left. Who knows what he's got left? But it's an interesting one, Kyle. It really is. It's
and for
not
me
a
to bring
bad
it up.
conversation. For you to bring it up is big.
That should tell you, honestly, like, and again, 2022 has been a couple years away. Like, it's behind us. And we are constantly getting bounced in the first round. desperate times call for desperate measures. And if we want to talk about this window being wide open, act like it.
Yeah. It's not, again, I just go back to who gives you the best opportunity to win games. It would be a story. That's for sure. That is for sure. I'm not against it. I was not against it last year. I'm just trying to put myself in his headspace. I don't know where it is.
$4.5 million clears a lot of headspace.
Yeah. I mean, he's putting up great numbers for them. So, let me take a little breather here because there's two guys that I want to throw out to you that could be on addition to Schmaltz. That could be one is getting thrown around, one maybe not. And this one, how Duchene's a surprise for you, this one maybe is a surprise for me. Think about that.
Look at us growing up.
I know. And so has this guy that I'm going to bring up.
Interesting.
Ooh, yes. You're going to have to hang around for that one. First, let's talk about wonderful pistachios. If you're looking for a snack that's both delicious and nutritious, crack into a good source of protein with wonderful pistachios. It's one of the highest protein nuts. Each 1 ounce serving has 6 grams of protein, giving you over 10% of your daily value. Plus, they're packed with fiber and better for you unsaturated fats to help keep you feeling fuller for longer. So get snacking and get cracking with the snack that packs a protein punch. Visit wonderfulpistachios.com right now to learn more. All right, so let's keep talking about these like wish lists, and I think you're going to get a ton of comments of people like no Duchene, but people love a redemption story. I mean, Star Wars is a big deal because for a reason, and they say that now, but people were saying like trade Valnichuskin because of the issues that he was having, and people have come around on that too. So there's always the possibility of people, sure, I get it. But I think, hey, I wouldn't be against it. And that's as far as like what I would like to see the Avalanche do this offseason. Like I kind of feel like you do need to change things up. I really kind of feel like this team needs a different look, needs a different vibe. And that's why, like, we are Sammy G fans.
Mm-hmm.
I am okay with feeling like if they do move on from him, they might not because they love the guy. But if they do, I am going to understand it because I just feel like the time is now for maneuvering and just giving this team a different look.
Yep.
And you're hearing the wish list of like Sam Bennett.
Yeah.
That is a possibility. I do think the Avs will make a run at him. I feel like how I was talking about Duchene, I'm not against that. I just trying to get myself in the Matt Duchene headspace where I feel like he's happy in Dallas. I feel like Bennett's happy in Florida.
Yeah.
I don't think he wants to leave there. I don't think sure he'll want to increase his value, but I don't think he's going to try to make them pay top dollar for him because he knows he's in a good spot there.
Yep.
So I don't think that's I think the Avs will try and they'll try and they'll entertain it. Where it could get, and I have not heard this or anything, a Sam Bennett teammate right now.
Oh my.
Brad Marchand.
Oh my word.
Now you want to get a different look on a team. You do something like that. I mean, that's a grizzled vet. He's been in the league forever. He's a locker room guy. I was not a Marchand fan forever. And I'm not saying like today I've completely turned the page on that. But I feel like, as you just said when we went into the break, like, well, look at us growing up. He has like, he's not that like, he's still got an edge. He's always going to play with that edge, but it doesn't like hurt his team anymore. He used to take just dumb penalties. And that's kind of like why, like, I'm like, how can you root for this guy? He hurts your team more than it's like Jamie Benn. Jamie Benn hurts your team more than he
also
helps
UFA.
No, we're not talking about that. We are not talking about that. Dude's a captain on the 4th line right now. Get out of here. That'll never happen. I will not. Why are you going to put me in a bad mood on a recording night? No. But Marchand is hey, could they? Could this be like a Jerome Iginla thing? Nobody really thought Iginla was going to come to Colorado, and they got him late in his career. It wasn't really like he was a shell of his former self, but you get
What's
guys like that in the locker room, and heads turn, and people kind of up their game a little bit more.
I like as you're talking, I love it.
Mm.
But the only thing that gives me hesitation is what's that dollar amount going to look like?
I don't know. That's why he is not in Boston anymore.
Yeah.
They couldn't come to. He was willing to go down, and the Bruins were not going to go that high. Is how it was. But I don't know what those numbers were. I wasn't that much into it to really know. I don't even know if they released what those numbers were.
See,
But
because
he's got to know. Like he's not.
But I get I love your yes, it's going to be a different vibe for the team. Yes, check.
Mhm.
Will he provide for the team? Of course. Look at his 4 nations and look at what he's doing now. He's still contributing as a hockey player. Check. But the thing, especially with how I constructed my wish list, the last thing I want to do is get make a move for a change, but handle it financially as you always have, where you go make your big player and then you tie yourself up. And we're talking about, the Avs only have this much left, and we're talking about, you don't have Landeskog in the LTIR anymore.
Mhm.
You're not playing cap games, and you already talked about at the end of the season in your press conference, we're up against the cap. We're up against the cap. I get it. You're not going to be able to. You still have a Cale Makar deal coming up. I don't want to get paying a Brad Marchand. Don't know how much he's going to give you next year, health wise, or you don't want to tie up a $6 million to a guy that you might get 40-ish games. You want to make
Well,
sure.
I mean, he's. I mean, I want to bring up his. What's he got for games played year after year? I mean, he's a workhorse. I'm not worried about the injury part of it so much.
But it's the Colorado Avalanche. He's not just the only one. There will be other
Yeah,
injuries.
yeah, and
You had
I mean,
49 players last year that you
right.
had to sub and swap.
I mean, he's at 6.125, 37 years old. This is not somebody I'm saying bring him in and the problems are solved. It's you're bringing him in for the visual of it.
Yep.
Kind of like you did with Iginla. You know what I mean? You brought sure, Iginla still gave you production. You can still get that from someone like Marchand, but you're not paying him $6 million a year. You're just not doing it, and he needs to realize that too.
That's why I was with my wish list, I want to make sure you had bang for your buck. All 3 of mine were making under 3, because you could take that additional. You get, let's just say we go get Matt Duchene for 3, then you could get another $3 million player and put him on third line, and then another $2 million player and put him on the fourth line, and then you have a very, 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 very deep team, and you're still holding on to Sam Girard. So this, yes, it is a different look for the Avalanche, but it's a deep team. We're not sitting here talking about Kiwi Ronzo, Miles Wood, and Jimmy Vesey on scratches. Yes, those are name value, but I'm talking about contributions where every line is an all-star line, and this is a deep production team where a line can unplug and you feel confident in lines 2, 3, and 4, where you can swap lines 1 and 2 and you feel all right with it.
I like it. Yeah. Don't I'm not down on any of that really. So that's what makes the offseason great. So all right. Let's get to Mr. Ross Colton in his season grade. Once again, we're going long on that. It's the offseason, and this is conversations that just keep going and going and going because just it makes it exciting. This is what makes the offseason great. So we might have to push the Marner stuff back yet again. So because we're going long. But let's get to Ross Colton's season grade. We'll do that right after this. All right, we continue with our season grades. Just started the other day with Mackenzie Blackwood, and we go alphabetically. So next up is Mr. Ross Colton. If you are watching over on the YouTube, we're going to bring up the grade card for him. And there you have it. Your hosts, go with flat C's. And all the socials go flat B's for Colton. They were close though. He got a lot of B's and a lot of C's. I know on X it was like 1 percentage point between B and C. On YouTube, I think it was a little bit further apart. On Instagram, it was pretty close. So this was really toeing the line between B's and C's. And like I said before, like on when we do these, we can't do pluses and minuses for the socials. We do, obviously, but we haven't yet. We've gone flat B, flat C for these two guys, or A we did for Blackwood, C for Colton. But this was a close one for social media between B and C. And why did you go with a C?
This would have been an easy. I would probably be joining everybody on the socials, especially the subtexters, because you can see some of their comments right there. It's just that start was beautiful, and the end was not, and that it concerned me a little bit. I'm very curious on how next year will look, if it's a continuation of the last part or the first part. And seeing that dip was a little concerning. Like you couldn't ask for a better start to the season. And I was really optimistic on what he's going to provide depth wise. Just never seeing it come back to the amount of games that he tallied and was just straight up invisible was alarming. Absolutely alarming. So yes, that's a C because yeah, that was a great start, a very rough to invisible ending. You got an average passing grade. Like, you weren't bad, you were just invisible. You weren't costing us games, but you sure were not helping us win games, especially in the playoffs.
I went between C minus, C, and C plus for him. And in the end, I was just like, well, we might as well just go in the middle because there's all this good stuff that I'm thinking of. There's just, like you said, like invisible times where he was, and there was times where he was just Ross Colton. The thing I love about him is like the effort level will always be there with Colton. That's not in question for me. I feel like he's always out there pumping his legs, giving you 110% every shift that he has. It's the production that just sometimes looks like the beginning of the season. And it's just, he's leading the league in goals after like 3 weeks. Hey, nobody would ever think that. But then there's a stretch from where was it? I got it here. From January 16th to February 23rd. So, and I know that there's, the Four Nations is built in there. Basically, it's 14 games. If you want to say 14 games where he had nothing. And then there was a stretch right before the season ended. The last game of the year, he had 1 goal. But prior to that, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 games in a row where he didn't have it. So that's what you get from Ross Colton is just these stretches of he can't get off of the goose eggs. And again, it's not for lack of effort. It's just something like he got injured. That injury just crushed him. He had that start, and then it wasn't like the broken ankle or the broken foot or whatever it was. And you hate to say, these guys got to know the injuries are going to happen and come back and bounce back from injuries. Easier said than done. But that just seemed to affect him for the rest of the year. And he couldn't really get back on track to how he started the season because he was electric and he can do that. But the other times, the electricity just goes out and the lights can't come back on.
I'm going to tell you the perfect way to summarize Ross Colton's season last year. Ross Colton is Game of Thrones.
Okay.
Like, it started out, the world was obsessed with Game of Thrones. Everybody was memeing it up and dressing it up. And the way that show ended, like you mentioned it now, everybody's like, oh yeah, Game of Thrones or The Walking Dead. Started out great, had everybody watching. The way it ended, you're just like, oh my, just whatever.
What's going on here?
Yeah, like Ross Colton, like whatever. Like Avs fans were watching it, and you're like, this used to be good. It started out great. Why am I still watching this? And like
Yeah.
you expect so much more because the substance is there, the ingredients are there, and it just never was able to re-engage. And with everything going south at many points during the season, you would like to see him, for any reason, have a spark and come back to just normalcy, and it just never happened. So it was rough.
Well, because he can be that guy. Like
He can.
he's played on the top line when they need him to. They'll put him on the power play. He's been on power play 1 for, probably because of injuries is why he's there. But you can kind of move him around. He's the type of guy that he'll kind of seize that opportunity. Like I can just picture him, Bednar going to him saying, "Hey man, your top line tonight." And him just being like, "Let's go.
Yeah.
I got you." And then when he settles into his, because we love the Roaring 20s line, and the line he was on this year, like for a third line, like they gave you some good electric moments. Maybe not so much in the points categories and goal scoring and stuff like that, but they would hold a line and keep the puck in the zone. So like he can do stuff like that all the time. But you've seen the moments of scoring ability from him. And it's always that, like, whenever he scores a goal, they're usually like really pretty goals. And you're like, man, like, okay, like he's going to just get into like a comfort zone here and just continue this streak. And then it falls off. And I just feel like that's what you're going to get with Ross Colton. He's kind of like Logan O'Connor in that aspect. O'Connor just gives you unbelievable play all the time. And every once in a while, he'll throw in some goals that just look so slick. And you're like, man, why can't he do this game after game? It just seems like he has that ability, but it just doesn't show up all the time.
Yeah, you had him like Lehkonen level scoring, producing, like Burakovsky, how he used to quietly score, just produce. But like towards the end of the season, it was just like Jost again. And it was just like not happening. You're like, I know you could do it. Why can't you do it?
Yeah.
And when you're begging somebody of the caliber of Ross Colton and was almost handed the keys of Tampa Bay for that rebuild and to end the season that way, it's just a little disappointing. And it makes you wonder, is this why Tampa was so willing to get rid of him? What's going on here? And I'm very excited to see what next year looks like. And if it's more of the same, we got issues.
Over on Subtext, had a lot of comments on him. Vargar says, Colton is possibly the only trade or signing that Chris McFarland has made that I liked in the moment. He's been steady, although he's overpaid by about $1 million. That is a sticking point.
Yeah.
And you're hearing his name get brought up. And if the Avs do need to go out and sign someone of bigger value, is the Ross Colton contract the one to go? Could be.
Yeah.
Could be. We don't know. Madam Battleaxe is throwing out a dare to me. Like she thinks I won't do this, but I'm going to do it. She's daring me to read her full comment.
Oh boy.
And I knew exactly where she was going with this because I know how she feels about Ross Colton.
Oh, that's true.
And so she said, Ross Colton,
yep,
solid A. Now I know everybody's gasping right now. Just let me finish this whole thing from Madam Battleaxe. He's a strong team player, gives 110% on and off the ice every game. I hope he has recovered from his injuries and can come back stronger than ever. He is always ready to drop the gloves and take it to the max. And being that I am biased, he is just so soft on the eyes, which brings him up a full letter grade. Hashtag hot number 20. We're not, hey man, you can give people grades for whatever you want to give people grades for. And if you want to bump them up because you can watch Ross Colton on mute, feel free.
I can't. And you know what, Madam Battleaxe, you put me in a corner where I can't say, no, he's not any of this. Like I'm not going to fight this, but yeah. I get it. And he had that goal that was like very memeable. And that reaction, like when it's cooking, he's cooking. And like he's a great member of the team. It's just like the end of the season, the last maybe 2/3 of the season, concerning. And with nobody else producing, like you can't constantly, be putting band-aids on holes in the ship. Like if you see something concerning, like you expect a little bit more. So eye candy and all, like you're still going to get cavities one way or another.
Heather said he's reliable on power plays, brings a goofy, fun side to the team. You've seen that.
Goofy fun sides don't get you far, Heather.
We got Mayor Charles there too. Says I like his energy and his ability to see the game develop around him. Wish he could have stayed healthy all year. I mean, you could just fill in the blank for someone like that. For wish he could stay healthy. You could make that comment for
everybody.
Anybody. Yeah, exactly. So I wanted to bring up, this is over on NHL Edge. See if we can bring this up here quickly. Yeah. So when I do like the StatCast, I don't typically go to this page just because StatCast is like for the individual games, but this is kind of like diving deep into each individual player. And like this is what, like, so here's like his kind of I just call this like a web. I don't even know what they call that, but it just reminds me of a spider web.
It looks like Illinois.
Is that no, that's not. That's like, what is that look?
Wisconsin
or Minnesota, maybe? I don't know. I was never good in the State Department. But everything is like the better you are, the further out these numbers are to the outside target part right here. And look where he is for most of this stuff, right in the middle. And here's his percentiles for stuff. So his top skating speed, like below 50 percentile. Burst over 20 miles an hour, he's in the 71st percentile. So he's got decent speed. Like he's not this slow, loafing guy. Like he can keep up just fine. If I brought up Nathan McKinnon's, which I will, his is like, all the way out here for everything. Yeah. But everything is just 56% for his shot speed, or percentile for his shot speed. You go down, here's just his speed bursts. Most of them are in the 18 to 20, which most people are. He does have some pretty good bursts from 20 to 22 miles an hour. That's so again, he can keep up. Here's his skating distance. You can take that for what it's worth. You have a lot of gaps in here. That's where the injuries are. So you have some moments where he's not playing, but as far as it kind of tells you if he's like a 200-foot player or not. So for total mileage, he's right at 51st percentile. Again, halfway, like right at the halfway point. So you see a lot of this stuff. Here's one that was interesting: the shots on goal for me. That's shots on goal. Here's your goals in the high, everything. All of his goals are right down the center. See all the zeros here? You got one off to the side. Okay, I'll give you that one. But here's his goals right in front. And that one he was apparently in the goal when he got that one. But everything, there's nothing long range. There's you got a few in the middle, but right down the center. All of his goals are that's where he plays. And that was a little bit surprising to me. That all of his goals, save for one, which is low down by the goal, right in the house or right in the slot.
I mean,
that kind of just tells the story of Ross Colton. Everything down the middle, including his percentiles, right around the 50% percentile for everything.
But also keep in mind, Chris Maselli, if you could pull this up, every team has scouting teams that could look up and say, hey, you keep this guy out of the middle, you win. Like,
because he's, like that one, just when I got to that, I was like, wow. Nothing on the outside. Nothing.
And it shows no versatility to the game and no adaptability. So if you're kind of pigeonholing yourself down the middle, like that's where it's going to come. When you're scouting, hey, when 20 hits the ice, keep him out of the middle. You've isolated that guy, just survive, go on to the next line. Like, this is the advanced stuff. Like, you throw this out, this is what you know, and this is how you play him. So, of course, it's going to double down on an uphill climb to get your production back. If you're not in your sweet spot, you can't get things going the way you always do, and people are taking you out of the game, you're fighting yourself and your opponent, and it's a long way to get back to normal. So hopefully you can change it up. But, it's a little concerning. I just want to see him, it's that counter punch, like, adapt.
And I know, like, and he's, he has played center, so I know that's, you're going to be in there, but he plays wing.
Yeah.
quite a bit. So, and you're seeing there's the shots on goal there. So, I mean, he's taking shots from all different angles, but he can't crack through when he's taking them off on the wing. They're all right down the middle. And that just, to me, that was just like, wow, that tells the story of Ross Colton.
Yeah.
Everything right down the middle. Everything. So there you go. What do we got next? Who is next on our list here? I had it up. It was, let's see. Well, Charlie Coyle is technically next, but I don't know if is he could we give him a grade?
We could.
Do we want to?
Are we going O'Connor as the O or the?
No, yeah, he's an O. He's an O. I mean, the next couple guys are no longer. Well, Coyle, who was there for a short amount of time, Calvin DeHaan was there, and then if we don't do either of those, which we're not going to do DeHaan because he's not on the team anymore. After that is Jonathan Drouin. Should we just skip right over to Jonathan Drouin? Because I don't feel like you can give Coyle like a fair grade. He played 19 regular season games and then the playoffs. That's not even half the season. So and that's what happens when you get guys at the trade deadline.
You can. Yeah.
Let's go to Drouin.
Let's go to Drouin.
We'll go to Jonathan Drouin next. So we'll do that one on Friday. So, all right. We'll get the Marner comments. I'll have to. I'm sure they'll get brought up again. So don't worry about that, especially when he does sign with whoever he signs with. But yeah, we'll be discussing him more than we probably should because he's not even coming here. But
nope.
He's going to be the hot topic. All right, everyone. That's going to wrap it up for today. So thank you for tuning in, making it your first listen of the day. That is always appreciated. He's Mr. Shaggy Von Doom, Kyle Sullivan. I am Chris Maselli. This is the Locked On Avalanche podcast. We'll see you guys later. And you made it through another 24 hours. Sidney Crosby that much closer to being with the Colorado Avalanche.
Or Matt Duchene.
Or Matt Duchene.